back, my people. So there is serious fire on the mountain. A big diplomatic storm is brewing between Nigeria and the United States. And right now, Aso Rock is in panic mood. So here's the breaking news. US Senator Ted Cruz from Texas has openly accused Nigerian officials of ignoring and even facilitating the mass killings of Christians by Islamic jihadists. According to him, the Nigerian government has completely failed to protect Christians from violent attacks carried out by extremist groups. Now listen to this in his exact word. Senator Cruz said officials in Nigeria are ignoring and even facilitating the mass murder of Christians by Islamic jihadists. It is time to hold those responsible accountable. He's not stopping there. Senator Cruz has also introduced a bill that could bring powerful US sanctions and other serious measures against Nigerian officials who he believes are complices in religious persecution. Now, there are so many reactions from Nigeria, but of course, Nigeria is not taking this lightly. Baya Onanuga, the spokesman to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has fired back with a serious warning, describing the allegation as false, unfair, and politically motivated. According to Onanuga, Nigeria remains a sovereign nation, and such claims from foreign lawmakers are interference in internal affairs. He insists that the Tinubu government is working to ensure peace, unity, and religious tolerance across the country. My people, this is getting intense. If this bill passes in the United States, it could shake the relationship between Abuja and Washington. Imagine United States sanctions targeting top Nigerian officials. It could affect diplomatic ties, foreign aid, and even international perception of Nigeria's leadership. So, according to Baya Onanuga, Tinubu's spokesman, he has come out strongly to defend Nigeria. He dismissed Cruz's statements as misleading, unfair, and harmful to Nigeria's international image. Now, according to Onanuga, those kind of comments are nothing but dangerous propaganda, and he issued a serious warning to the United States Senator. He cautioned Cruz to stop spreading what he described as false narratives that could damage the long-standing diplomatic relationship between Nigeria and the United States. Onanuga did not stop there. He insisted that the Tinubu's administration remains fully committed to fighting terrorism and restoring peace. Anyway, guys, I would love you guys to listen to what Peter for Nigeria have to say concerning this issue, as well as what is going on in Nigeria and 2027 election, which is yet to come. And also, if you're coming across my channel for the first time, do wait to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll be right back. Just watch this video, guys.
Push to take up this case of Senator Natasha is the same, zeal about injustice, no matter who is involved. Injustice does not become justice when it happens to someone maybe you disagree with. Even if the current Senate president was an ordinary senator and another Senate president does the same thing, I will still speak up. Senator Natasha is one of just 4 women in the Senate. And then the Senate came up with, they said you disobeyed standing rules, and then they gave you a sentence of a suspension for 6 months. Your security withdrew from you. Your salaries, allowances stopped. And we said, no, this cannot be the way to go. If a National Assembly wants to be a body of lawmakers, it should be able to uphold the laws for its own self. We have had instances in the Senate where a senator led thugs to steal the mace, the symbol of authority, and it was seen later at the city gate somewhere in Abuja. He was suspended, taken to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said, no, you cannot suspend for more than 14 days. By the next year, 2019, he was voted in as Deputy Senate President. A current serving senator, a former governor, was convicted of money laundering to the tune of billions, sentenced to prison for about 6 months before he went to the Supreme Court. What did the standing orders of the Senate say about it? So it is not able to take care of known criminals amongst them. It is women who insist on standing for their rights. Let due process be followed. And when a court of competent jurisdiction says this is the way to go, the lawmaking body should not be the ones violating the rights or the Constitution. You cannot arrogate to yourself the powers of both executive, legislative, and judiciary. We must have the rule of law in a country, and that is why we insist that the people of Kogi should not be shortchanged. Senator Akpabio is not more senator than Senator Natasha.
All right, right now, moving forward, are we looking at her being favored the way others have been favored? Because obviously we know that there are going to be challenges.
There will be,
Is there any plans in the event something goes awry?
Do you know what I have come to realize from this case of Senator Natasha? Democracy thrives when citizens participate, and we will continue to have criminality in government, illegality and injustice for as long as the people permit it. Once the people begin to mobilize and insist that the right thing should be done, the power of the people will always be greater than the criminals in power. So it does not matter the shenanigans that they would want to do. The persons who are in the Senate, there are about 108 of them plus 209, 360 lawmakers. How many are the politicians that will hold how many million people who stage? So beyond the case of Senator Natasha is an outright and flagrant, abuse of power. The National Assembly today has almost become an extension of the executive. It is like the APC town hall. When the president goes to submit a budget, they greet him with his political mantra, on their mandate they shall fall. That place is the People's Assembly. So when will the Senate leadership be also suspended for turning a house that should be apolitical to a political party stakeholder meeting? So beyond whatever it is that they will be planning for Senator Natasha, because it is even unfortunate that for 6 months, a country grappling with insecurity, bandits are holding press conferences in Katsina, the Senate has been bent or has been neck deep into political battles of perceived enemies. So whatever it is, if the Senate wants to remember itself as a 10th Senate that fought to push forward the welfare of Nigerians, or that wasted this time approving loans without investigation and clamping down on one woman, it is up to them to make that decision. But Nigerians will not allow that injustice to be sustained.
Right. How will you assess this 10th Assembly in the light of all that we have seen? Are they really doing the oversight function, or they are just serving themselves?
I think in Nigeria, one of the greatest tragedies is that there is no worst case scenario. Because things are this bad does not mean it cannot become worse. In fact, we thought that the 9th Senate under Senator Ahmed Lawan was bad until we saw the 10th Senate. This current Senate is probably the most unproductive and probably useless to the Nigerian people. A Senate that has become an extension of the executive, where legislative leaders wait to get instruction from the presidency. What exactly has the Senate in its 2 years going to 3 years of the 10th Senate done meaningfully well to impact the lives of Nigerians? The economy, it is just approving of loans and loans without investigation for the presidency. And then you see National Assembly members, instead of taking the pains of carrying out oversight, they are more interested in political controversies and all sorts. So for me, I think that it is high time for Nigerians to drain the swamp, to ensure that whatever that it is, because we are spending a lot of money. The budget for the National Assembly is above 350 billion. So when you spend so much money on non-essentials, on something that is not productive to the people, we are the collateral for that level of mismanagement and recklessness. So I think it is shameful what the legislative arm of government has become, because that is the arm of government empowered to carry out oversight. And if it can become that, where is democracy headed? Where is the country headed? Nigerians must think about how to recalibrate ahead of 2027, because we have a lot of trouble in our hands if this is what we have as a legislative arm.
All right, you've been in the forefront of electoral reforms. I can even see it on your t-shirt. Fix INEC.
Fix INEC now.
How do you think we can fix INEC now?
It has to be an electoral revolution. Mr. Victor, it is simple. Nigeria, we have been living in self-deceit. We have been living a lie. We claim to be a democracy. This year we celebrated 26 years of uninterrupted democracy in our fourth republic, and we have just done 65 years of independence. The hallmark of every democracy are free, fair, credible and peaceful elections. That is the foundation, because it is a social contract where the citizens choose their leaders, and when they are dissatisfied with their performance, they can vote them out. If you fail to fix elections, there is no point of accountability. So we go through a vicious circle where people just continue to lament about bad leadership. They rig themselves back into power, they complete their 8 years, they rig another person who will become even worse. So if truly we want to be a democracy, it must be through free, fair, credible and peaceful elections, because elections do not only bring governments, they give legitimacy to governance. That is why it became very important that, look, INEC and the electoral process and the judiciary have become the weapon fashion against Nigeria. We must put a spotlight on it. Since 1999, the current president is the only president who has not come out to talk about electoral reforms and free and fair election, even though he prides himself as being one of the persons who fought for the June 12 MKO Abiola mandate, which was all about free and fair elections. 32 years later, Nigeria cannot boast of conducting credible elections. Even the late President Yaradua admitted that the elections that brought himself and the then Vice President Jonathan, he said they were flawed. We needed to improve on them. Unfortunately, he passed. But President Jonathan took it a step further to sign the 2011 Electoral Act, conducted the elections that were seemingly free and fair that brought President Buhari. Then the destruction of INEC and the judicial system began, and that is where we are today. And if we fail to fix it and they consolidate on what happened, the criminality we call elections of 2023, then we are done for as a country, because there is a template. The current ruling party has a pedigree. We have Lagos State to look at for the last 26 years. Nigerians must fix that system of accountability. Whoever that Nigerians chose, let it come as the mandate of the people. You cannot come through the window and claim to be sanitizing the house. No, the process of getting into power is more important than what you do with the power. That is why we are on this.
A lot of people have said that Nigerians have lost in INEC.
Yes.
INEC itself is also saying that Nigerians have not lost their confidence in them. That is about the individuals, not about INEC. How do you react to that?
I think it is unfortunate, because INEC should, the leadership of INEC should bury their heads in shame. The professor of INEC, the INEC chairman currently, his tenure will soon be finishing. In a normal society where there is a rule of law, the INEC chairman should be on a subject of investigation. And I say it with unequivocally. If you collect 300 and something billion to carry out one particular project, you said electronic technology will be the game changer. You needed about 150 billion and all of the position papers you did. Sir, on the day of delivering, you said the Senate result could pass through the server, but the presidential could not because there was a glitch. Sir, do we know what caused the glitch? Has INEC told us why we should not have further glitches moving forward? The politicians, have they come out to say, in the minimum, let us know why taxpayer money should be wasted in such a misadventure, and on the day of delivery it fails? Until date, there is no conversation about electronic tech. In fact, the 2023 election has not even been reviewed by this current INEC chairman who is about to go. And when you say the people do not trust the process, INEC data for 2023, total number of registered voters was about 93 million. Collected PVCs were about 87 million according to INEC. The total number of persons who voted in that election were less than 28 million people. Sir, why do more than 50 million people take the pain of registering, collecting PVC and are not interested? It's simple. Nigerians do not trust those processes or those activities we call elections. In the words of one of the African Union observation team that came in 2023, they say what we came to do was not election monitoring, it was a crime watch. Imagine leadership that comes from a process of criminality. How does the country move forward? And INEC is telling people that it's not about. So for us now, it is to plug the loopholes. If the judiciary had done what they needed to do, we will not be where we are. But unfortunately, the judiciary have decided to be willing tool in the hands of the politicians. So we need to plug every loophole and ensure that there is less human interference, no matter who is running the agency, and then mobilize to protect your vote. But I personally believe that what will change elections in Nigeria is an electoral revolution.
How do you respond to the fact that most of the people being appointed either as national commissioners, as CACARI members,
or political
those who have been appointed regional electoral commissioners are CACARI members? So how do you expect this change to happen?
I mean, it has to become a national conversation. The issues of election in Nigeria must be raised to the level of a national crisis, because failure to do so will just allow us to be at the mercies of the politicians in government and persons who they install there. The act is clear. The guidelines for INEC are clear about how to appoint persons. But of course, it's solely the prerogative of the president. Persons are saying that, oh, you may need to now amend the law so that it is not just the sole responsibility of the president, who will also be a participant or a contestant, the umpire. But then again, to what extent can we really control the interference of people? Even those who may not be card carrying members, by the time they get in there, how do you control their own activities? That was why it became important that can technology insulate the process from human interference? And even when you raise all of these issues and say this person should not be a national commissioner, the person is a card carrying member, what judiciary are you going to take the case to, sir? So Nigerians must wake up, because even now, the electoral reform, there is no political will from this 10th assembly to... If you pass electoral reform and do free and fair election, you are almost saying that 90% of the current politicians should retire and go out of office. So it will take a critical mass of Nigerians to wake up and insist that the right thing should be done, or else we continue in these irregularities.
If you are to ask to point one or two steps you think should be taken to achieve these electoral reforms, what will it be?
Occupy National Assembly. Nigerians must mobilize civil society, everybody who means well for Nigeria. As the Senate resumes and begins considerations, they will begin a public hearing and all of those calisthenics about trying to do this, because of course politicians will be politicians. If they give you reform A, they open a loophole by B, because you know you cannot have it all together. So everybody must, in Nigeria they will say men must mount. Nigerians must put maximum civic pressure to implement or express your right to peaceful assembly, put the pressure you need, and then begin to look at the critical part of what part of the Constitution or the Electoral Act and the INEC guidelines, whatever that needs to be amended should be amended. And then, of course, there is the part of almost every case, every political contest in Nigeria ends up in the judiciary. Should the courts be choosing leaders for the people in a democracy? That is, we have shortchanged the will of the people. We can as well decide that the court should tell us who should be governors and senators. Let everyone go to bed. We have to fix this broken system, and it will take Nigerians waking up and realizing that our lives depend on the quality of elections and leaders we produce.
You talked about the judiciary. How would you assess the judiciary? Looking at 2023 elections going forward, how would you assess them?
In all honesty, I have said it severally that I do not believe Nigeria has a judiciary. The judiciary is an independent arm of a democratic government that is capable of dispensing justice for the state and not for statesmen. What Nigerian judiciary has proven to be is the legal department of any political party in power, where politicians and strongmen control whatever. You can see what is going on, where people become SAN through whatever means that they be. Spouses of politicians just move from high court to the appellate court, then to the Supreme Court. Look at the case of Rivers State, for example. The president, that is a textbook definition of where Nigeria's democracy is. And a president in a democracy woke up and decided to suspend a legitimately elected governor. I'm not talking whether it is right or wrong, but before even the Senate that should ratified, he had already sworn in a sole administrator. The National Assembly that should ratify with 2/3 majority decided to use a voice vote. Now, the voice vote was used to uphold the illegality that was done by the executive. PDP governors approached the court, and for 6 months, the Supreme Court was unable to entertain a suit to determine the legality of a process until that 6 months expired and the governor came back in a so-called peace deal. So if you can see the tragedy of the three arms of government, you should know that Nigeria is in dire strait. Nigeria is in serious trouble. The judiciary that should be called the last hope of the common man has become the last hope of the uncommon man. When you see politicians in Nigeria today, we almost have a minister for the judiciary who is building houses for them, increasing their allowances and pampering the judges. A person who at the end of an electoral cycle will also be a defender in their court. And we don't see it as clash of interest. We don't see it as administrative abnormalities. Everybody just goes in that way. So what is the hope of the Nigerian if we have that kind of judiciary? We are in serious trouble and we must fix it.
The president's speech, independence anniversary speech, the president said that the economy is on the path of recovery.
Super story.
And then that we are making progress. What's your take?
That one is Tales by Moonlight. I think our pockets and Nigerians will be the ones to tell the stories. I think it is very shameful and it is disappointing that 65 years after independence, 15 years ago in 2010, when we did 50 years of independence, Professor Wole Soyinka is quoted on a magazine to say there is nothing to celebrate. In 2015, if you want to know exactly where President Tinubu and the current government, the mischief we have in leadership about the economy, the major campaign and one of the policy statements of President Tinubu was on May 29, 2023. Subsidy regime is gone. They pride themselves in removing the corrupt subsidy from fuel subsidy. And I asked the question, Mr. President, if you want to be honest with yourself, it is true that there was corruption in subsidy. But the question is, between May 29th and today, October 2025, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, how much have you saved exactly from fuel subsidy removal? Because subsidy in itself was not the problem. It is the criminality in subsidy. Subsidy is paid in different forms in different countries. What we call social securities are all subsidy. In fact, if you take out subsidy and you begin to increase money to governors without holding them accountable, you have only decentralized corruption. What you are telling us is that you have removed subsidy for the poor and are subsidizing the rich. So what is happening in Nigeria today is that we, the poor and average Nigerians, we are the subsidy for the wealthy, and you live in luxury. The president can come out and say he has turned the corner economically because, of course, his economy has improved. He bought a new presidential jet. He bought a presidential yacht. They budgeted money for SUVs for the office of the first lady. They are installing solar panel in the presidency for billions. They renovated the vice president's house for about 20-something billion. They released money to the Senate to buy bulletproof vehicles for more than 160 billion. So their own economy has improved. The question is, the man on the street, how do we have stable power to even power your own small and medium scale enterprise? What is the security to us? Today in Kano, in Kwara State, bandits are killing people. Kwara, that used to be one of the most peaceful. In Katsina, bandits are holding peace deals. We have security and insecurity officials. What I see is Nigeria being governed by political businessmen who see the citizens as customers for their trade. Nigerians must wake up and dismantle the structure of criminality. I take exception to that speech by the president. If President Tinubu is being honest, sir, can you have a policy statement from a British Prime Minister on something as important as fuel subsidy, and then you cannot account for exactly how much was saved from it? Let us say, okay, we saved 50 billion. Do you know what 50 billion can transform in the health sector? How much is ASU looking for? How much do we need to improve educational infrastructure for the out-of-school children, more than 18 million to return? So that we know that we stopped criminality in subsidy, we saved from this, and this is what we have been able to reinvest it, and with tangible result. Our trunk A roads and highways, more than 80% are not motorable. And you keep insisting that you removed corruption from fuel subsidy. Sir, you have diversified corruption. Please excuse us.
And then the issue of insecurity. He also said that we are winning the war against insecurity.
The president is winning, but I don't know in what ring or in what platoon he's winning the war. After the statement of the president, do you know that yesterday there was an attack in Niger State with more than 30 persons kidnapped and a number of persons killed? The question about insecurity that politicians have not come out to say is, who exactly are beneficiaries of insecurity in Nigeria? Has insecurity become a multilateral or multinational economic investment where the more money you pour into it, the more it explodes? Remember that when President Jonathan was leaving office in the heat of the Boko Haram insurgency, this insecurity thing was majorly centered around the north.
So guys, I'm sure you guys have listened to this wonderful interview from Peter for Nigeria. You guys listen to all he said about what is going on in Nigeria. So guys, please do well to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you're coming across my channel for the first time, do well to hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. And see you guys again in my next video.